What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more punk rock, and I'm back to redo another video. I mentioned it before, one of the issues is that when I got the content from my old channel, when I had to move to this new channel, I realized YouTube had compressed the content, meaning when I uploaded all the videos on my old channel, they were at 1080p and 256 kps audio. When I re-downloaded them, they had been compressed to 720p and 128 kps. Now there's some reactions I did that I felt were just so good and natural in the moment that I don't want to redo them because I feel like I don't want to try to recreate that reaction. But there were a few that didn't really fit into that category. This song was one of them, in the sense that one, I sort of misinterpreted the lyrics, at least like the main sort of thrust of the lyrics. Secondly, I mispronounced Sulynn's name. She wasn't in the band when this came out, but in the course of that video I was talking about their modern lineup and a concert that I had seen them at, and I mentioned her name and I mispronounced it. So I figured in light of those two elements, I'd rather redo it than upload the video from my old channel at a lower quality and with me saying some inaccurate things. So there you go. It's like I said, it's a song called State Lottery. It's from their second studio album, Less Talk, More Rock, which I believe is 1995. Let me just see if we have that written here. No, it doesn't really say. I'll look it up in a moment. But yeah, this is the disc. Shout out to the disc. They've maintained that same sort of logo and banner of ideologies on their releases since. Shout out to that. I love it. And then, yeah, this is the back. So this song, State Lottery, you know, my understanding now is that it's about the victors of elections, especially American elections, and the way on Inauguration Day they walk out and they're smiling and they're talking about how great everything is, and, you know, it's like they're, you know, showering themselves in adulation and so on. And it's interesting because, like, I mentioned in the comment when the other person had remarked on my old video for this tune and mentioned, hey, Chris said this is what it's about, even though I was interested to hear what you had to say. And I was like, oh, okay, I see, you know, and that's really interesting. But it got me thinking, you know, one of the reasons I think there might be an explanation there is because American politics, you don't have to form a cabinet. You don't have to in any way really acknowledge the concerns and goals of people who didn't vote for you. So it does tend to be very whipsaw, because it's like the moment you get your foot in the door, you can basically just run amok and, you know, try to, you know, issue executive fiats and so on to try to achieve policy. So, you know, maybe part of it is there is a secret, not even secret, a very public celebration of yeah, we get to do the things that we want to do. Not that that's legitimate or, you know, professional. But I do think the winner-take-all nature of American politics might explain that a little bit. And then I guess secondarily, you know, if you're going to have an event for an inauguration, and it begs the question of whether you need this big public ceremony, which, you know, has all the trappings of sort of royalty and, you know, sort of coronations and all that. But if you are going to have some event like that, I guess it's fair to say that you don't want someone coming up there and saying, oh my God, we are so fucked. You don't even know. We got so many problems. I don't know if we're going to be up to it. Because, you know, that might, spook, consumers and so on, which could cause economic problems. I just feel like projecting some measure of competency and so on is to be expected in that moment. So, yeah, it just got me thinking about that tune in light of my understanding now of its meaning. Whereas when I had done the original video, I remember thinking that, you know, because there's a line about, you know, handing out splints and things for people who've been wounded in combat, and there's a talk about companies wanting to you know, they're coming in and acting they're going to help things, but they're really looking for profits. You know, it's profits before lives. So I was thinking it was about you know, defense contractors coming in after humanitarian interventions, or, you know, limited conflicts and so on, where, you know, it's the reasons that they went there to fight this conflict weren't exactly what they were saying publicly, and then these companies are coming in as if they're very humanitarian. Hey, look, we're just trying to help rebuild communities, but they might ignore the, you know, concerns and desires of the local communities who've been disrupted and so on. So yeah, I had a very like different interpretation, but if you go back and look at the other video, you'll see by the time it ended, I was like, I don't know, like I think this is more about domestic politics. So I think by the end I had kind of like come back to a closer understanding to what the song is actually about. But yeah, it wasn't until someone commented and said, hey, this is about inaugurations and the way these people act like they just won the lottery, even though they now have this daunting task of like having to administer policies that help all these people that the system has left for dead. So yeah, like I've come to a new understanding of it through doing these videos, but in light of that error and in light of the lower quality of the old video, I said, you know what, let's just redo it. So here we are. This is The State Lottery by Propagandhi on their album Less Talk More Rock. Let's just make sure that's 1995. Yeah, one moment please. I do apologize. I should be prepared. But, you know, sometimes you're not. Alright, so Propagandhi and the album Less Talk More Rock is 96. So yeah, it was a year later than I thought. Interestingly, they have a cassette tape that was released in 95 called Yep, like Yep, period. That's hilarious. I never knew about that. Nevertheless, here we go. This is The State Lottery on Less Talk More Rock, 1996 on Fat Records.
Now, the real prospects for authentic democracy depend on something else.
Bet you didn't know Noam Chomsky was in the band.
Privileged societies learn some other lessons. For example, the lessons that are being taught right now by Mayans in Chiapas, Mexico. They're among the most impoverished and oppressed sectors in the continent, but unlike us, they retain a vibrant tradition of liberty and democracy, tradition that we've allowed to slip out of our hands or to be stolen from us. And unless people in the rich here and other rich and privileged societies, unless they can recapture and revitalize that tradition, the prospects for democracy are indeed dim.
Is that Samson, like, harmonizing with Chris?
Our tired minds, our broken bones, our bleeding limbs, and now they sew up all the splits and contracting out the tourniquets. And we jump through hoops, then we might just survive. This is what we deserve. Some of violence wars to fight amongst ourselves. As we scramble for the crumbs they spit out, sweating at the novel of the stigma that they justice for us with every racist, running bigger, I hear the goose steps getting closer.
That line. Goose steps are a lot louder and more public than they used to be, unfortunately. Yeah, and this isn't directly related to the meaning of the song, but given that line about I can hear those goose steps getting closer, I feel like one of the most horrific and catastrophic effects of, you know, Trump himself and Trumpism and this MAGA sort of brand of far right, like extreme politics, is the normalization of like white nationalism, Nazism, and like extreme like ethno-linguistic nationalism. Again, when you have the President of the United States like actually like retweeting one of his followers shouting white power at another person and like not thinking that there's anything wrong with that, you know, we've truly entered a different era of cultural history. So yeah, that line really, I think, was sort of prescient, even if it's, again, I'm taking it a little bit out of context. But yeah, like I said, it is a noteworthy point that, you know, inaugurations tend to be very celebratory affairs, but, you know, it's always like 6 months, a year, or 2 years into a presidency here in the U.S., and surely this applies, like, with maybe less specific terms. In other places, you find, you know, problems, you find like severe issues that large portions of the population are dealing with, and that, you know, the administration seems neither prepared or in some cases even willing to do anything about. So yeah, I do think it's a very insightful song, despite me having a bit different take on it for a long time. And again, one of the cool things about doing these videos is I've been getting information from different people. You know, I've done some Depeche Mode videos, for example, where some people have commented with like crazy detailed information. So shout out to everyone who's watching. I really do appreciate it, whether you're here from the punk rock videos or the techno or the 80s synth pop or whatever. So shout out to everyone watching. I really do appreciate it. Have a good day. Have a good night. I'll see you next time. Peace.